All right, thanks for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, including YouTube. So subscribe to the YouTube channel, hit the bell, upvote the video, and of course, participate down below by commenting on the video as well. I am here with Macon Gillespie. We are going to talk about opening weekend for Ole Miss this weekend. This is going to be kind of the ceremonial end of the celebration of winning the national championship. They're going to do it up big this weekend. How is the campus looking at it? It looks like the lines on the pictures online are long. How is the opening weekend going?
Campus is hectic, for lack of a better term, in a good way, if you're an Ole Miss fan. Parking lots are already filling up. I had to get on campus, I guess it was about an hour ago, to get my media pass, and it took a minute, and I noticed that the parking lots are already filling up, and that's big for a Friday, February 17th, first pitch at 4 o'clock. That is special, and I think that there are a lot of fans showing up for the promotions that the athletic department has for this weekend. The unveiling of the national championship artwork in the stadium. Tim Elko throwing out the ceremonial first pitch on Friday, a mini replica national championship trophy, a lot of things that are going to be happening at Swayze outside of the baseball itself.
Yeah, and the extended batter's eye behind the center field wall is going up. Do we think that might be like something that they're planning on graphic-wise doing with all that extra space?
I've wondered that. I'm not sure. I haven't heard anyone say, but that is something that crossed my mind, and you can definitely tell it's still a work in progress out there right now, because I did see that on my way to campus. But yeah, I mean that's something I think that had been in the works for a while, and it's just one of those things that takes some time and kind of drags into the opening weeks of the season a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, and it should be an interesting series. Props for the Delaware Blue Hens for being the team that is being brought in for what should be a fairly raucous game for February 17th.
Yeah, and I think that, on one hand, if you're Delaware, it's like, okay, we have to face the reigning national champions, an SEC team at one of the best college baseball environments in the country, according to people who don't even necessarily cover Ole Miss. But on the other hand, they may see this as an opportunity. They may see this as a chance to get a game, or even if if things go their way, get two. And I'm sure they're going to be as hyped up as anybody else to get out there and kind of give a crack at it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anyway, let's move on to the actual game on the playing field. And this is a question that I've had and haven't brought up on any of my podcasts until now. But now this is a good time, I think, to get into this. How do you replace Kevin Graham? Everybody talks about Elko. Everybody talks about bench. Everybody talks about DeLucia. How do you replace Kevin Graham?
Well, I think that is a very important question because, you notice last season when Graham was injured, there was a little bit of a slump there. And, of course, the regular season was what it was before the postseason caught fire. But I don't think it's a one-player approach. I think that to put it in kind of Moneyball terms, you have to kind of do it by committee a little bit. One player can contribute with on-base percentage. Another player could contribute with home runs. One could do it with batting average or fielding or whatever. I think it's going to be a group effort because I don't think here early in the season I look at one guy and say, okay, that is the new Kevin Graham. I could be wrong because baseball has proven many times to prove me wrong. But that is something that's how I see it unfolding because Kevin Graham was a key cog of this team for multiple years, especially last year. And, that's going to be something that we'll have to watch moving forward.
Yeah, after the Ole Miss Arkansas game in the College World Series, Dave Van Horn actually came over and said, "Do you have any eligibility left?" He was so happy to see Graham graduate. And I think with the popularity of Tim Elko, with the superstardom and the rise of Dylan DeLucia, I think that got lost a little bit, is exactly how good of a player Kevin Graham was. So John, looking at this, and we're talking about replacing that, who are some newcomers that we need to pay attention to on the field?
Well, we talk about Lane Kiffin's prowess in the transfer portal. Ole Miss has some transfer names as well. But for me, I'm looking at the pitching rotation to start. I mean, we talk about the bats and the production at the plate, all of that departed and has shifted around a little bit. But a couple of the names after Hunter Elliott this weekend, I think, are some guys to kind of keep an eye on. Grayson Saunier. I'm going to learn that this week.
Well, it's that time of year.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's the early portions of the season. By week 2, I'll have pronunciations down. Fortunately, I can write it and not speak it for a while. But anyway, that's a guy obviously to watch. Mike Bianco was very impressed with him during camp. What he was able to do on the mound, and I'm really excited to see him in game action because obviously game action and these simulated games during camp are different because you have thousands of fans as opposed to maybe double-digit people in attendance. So that's going to be something that I think is going to be very important to watch. And this pitching rotation is different. I mean, Hunter Elliott is now the guy. He had the opportunity to kind of be the guy last year, but he was number 2 in the rotation. So now he is the Friday guy, and that's going to be who comes behind him, and can Elliott hold down that Friday role? Because sometimes pitchers' mentalities are just different depending on the day that they go, wherever they're more comfortable. So that's what I'm keeping my eye on the most here in the early portions of the year, and we'll kind of see how it works itself out.
Yeah, because they have to get ready because Maryland's coming to town. You basically have 4 straight weekend games against the Maryland Terrapins with them coming to Oxford, and then they're the first game that we're going to play in Minnesota. I have no idea why Ole Miss is playing a baseball game in early March in Minnesota outdoors. But
you would think that would be illegal, right?
Yeah.
There should be some kind of law against that. But hopefully the weather works out well because I think that weekend, and we can maybe talk about that at a later date, but I think that weekend has the opportunity to be a real test for Ole Miss to see 3 different opponents on 3 different days, and kind of see how that pitching staff and how the guys at the plate adjust to seeing different guys.
Low key, one of the stories that I'm interested about, and you're not going to hear anybody talking about this, but I like to keep it real on my show, and I say that all the time, is back in Tennessee Tech when that happened, and Tennessee Tech started that run, and the crowd started just almost getting fatalist about what was about to happen. And honestly, that was earned. I get that. With what happened against Texas, what happened against Miami, all those super regional pass that happened, that it makes sense. Do Ole Miss fans kind of get to enjoy this season? Will they lighten up a bit, or will that come back as almost a habit in the future, near future?
I think it is definitely going to be alleviated because of what last season was leading up to the postseason. Everyone is obviously going to talk about the incredible run that this team went on last year. Once the postseason hit, last team in, last team standing. But the regular season, for at least the first half of it, and probably longer than that, was a mess. I mean, it looked like that Bianco was definitely going to be on the way out. I remember I wrote something saying that barring a miraculous turnaround, Mike Bianco was probably going to be done as the Ole Miss head coach. And then a miraculous turnaround happened, and now he's still here. So I think that, things definitely got tight, or like you said, fatalist around the fan base around that time. And I think most people were expecting a change. But then, obviously they catch fire and win the national championship. So I think that some of that pessimism is out the window a little bit, at least this year, because all of those super regional struggles, one trip to Omaha and however many years it was, 20 plus, has now been capped off with a national championship. So 05, 06, the Tennessee Tech year, all those things are kind of out the window for at least a little while. Now you still have to go out and win. I mean, this fan base expects winning, but that kind of mentality, I think, may take a back seat a little bit this year.
Yeah, and that leads me to this. If that pressure is truly gone, and you have no idea, everybody has no idea how much the players can feel that. And it almost becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy from time. If that is gone, does this Ole Miss team have a chance to go on a run over the next couple of years?
Yes. I have no problem saying that. I think absolutely because, we talked before we started recording that the national championship doesn't just affect this year. Okay, now recruits, in my opinion, at least, I'm not a recruit. I'm horrible at baseball, but recruits, I think, view your program now as a national championship program, right? At least for the foreseeable future, because they look at this as like, okay, not this Oxford is cool, the fan base in baseball is cool, Swayze is a cool environment, but they've also won a championship. Not only have they been to Omaha, which is a big deal, just getting there, but they've also won a championship once they got there. And I think that is key to this recruiting thing with all the scholarship stuff that happens in NCAA baseball and everything, as far as scholarship numbers are concerned. I think that's absolutely key because now there's the opportunity to maybe get one or two other guys who might not have considered your program, but would consider, an LSU or another program that has won, a national championship or multiple. Now you're in that conversation. So I think that absolutely, the past this year, I think that from a recruiting perspective and yes, from a fan base perspective, that's definitely an impact.
All right, John. Thank you very much for stopping by. And also, thank you for making the Locked On Ole Miss podcast your first listen every day. Make sure you check out our brand new podcast, Locked On College Basketball. Everything you need to know about college basketball in one place, plus hear from big-name experts, insiders, coaches, and players. I have a feeling in the next couple of weeks, Ole Miss will be a topic on that show. Locked On College Basketball. It's available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcast. John, enjoy opening weekend. Have a lot of fun out there. Enjoy Swayze. I'm down here in 85-degree weather in Central Florida at the moment. So enjoy the chilly weather, but enjoy Swayze, man.
I will. I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right. Take care, buddy. I'll talk to you next week.